Thanks very much for joining us. My name is Ibrahim Sani. We're still on the topic of talent development, capital markets, and of course, sustainability. Joining me in the studio is the CEO of SIDC, or the Securities Industry Development Corporation, Tengku Zarina. Good friend of the show, good friend of mine. Tengku, let's talk a little bit more about SIDC. This is the first time SIDC is appearing on Esrawani. It's also important for us to understand your mandate, what you guys are going through, and the kind of challenges that you face. For those that might not know what SIDC is all about, maybe you can walk through with us your, I guess, reason to exist.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ibrahim. Thank you for having me and SIDC on your segment today. Now, SIDC, Securities Industry Development Corporation, as you mentioned, is the capacity building arm of the Securities Commission. We were actually set up in 1994, a year after the SC was set up. So very much entrenched into what SC was doing, right? And we started as a center or department in the Securities Commission, and we were corporatized in 2007 to give a bit more independence in what we are doing. So our mandates our main mandates are basically two-pronged. One is actually to look at the promoting the excellence, the growth in the capital market through the excellent professionalism, right? So we upskill professionals, we upskill the talents, we upskill also even the boards in that sense. And the second one is to make sure that we have a good investor ecosystem as well. So investor education is also another mandate of ours. So the current core activities that SIDC is doing right now is very much capacity building, right? So we approach it in the sense that we look at what are the competencies required in the capital market in order for us to actually support the aspirations of the capital market through the capital market master plan. So we have got 3 master plans as of now. So every time that they come up with new master plan, we recalibrate and see what kind of competencies is needed to make sure that we have got that growth. And then we promote thought leadership, discourse among the leaders in the industry. I think you were involved in a few of our events as well.
That's right.
On
Thank
that,
you very much for inviting.
Yeah, so we want to hear from different angles, different leaders, different boards, even the working levels as well, and outside the industry, because capital market, as you know, is a whole ecosystem. You got the investors, you got the issuers, and also the intermediaries. So we get them together and discuss what are the issues or trends that needs to be looked at. And then from that, we come up with the sandwich courses if needed, that caters to the spin-offs from the conversations at our thought leadership events. And towards the competency, we also have got now the certification program. So we started that recently. Now to make sure that we got the correct competency, that we have to make sure that we also get the right standards. And so the qualification or certification is something that we are working on very, very heavily right now. Of course, you were part of capital market before, so you're familiar with the SCLE,
yes,
the licensing examination. So that was basically what traditionally SIDC was known for in the beginning. And so that is still ongoing. So before you get licensed, you have to pass our exams, and that is still bread and butter of what we do as a secretariat to the Securities Commission for the examinations. But on top of that, now we are coming up with other certification programs as well.
One thing that really took me aback was that your colleague, the MD from Securities Commission, Datin Azalina Adham, shared with me the demography of the practitioners of the capital markets in Malaysia, where 8%, only 8% are those below 30 years old. And hence the need for SC and SIDC, and I believe MOF as well, to launch the invested MOE as well. It's critical. The way I look at it is when you have an 8% demography of those below 30, it's more of the situation, less of you guys, I suppose, because young people might not necessarily be attuned or interested to be a regulator, let alone a capital markets practitioner. Does this kind of statistics worry folks at SIDC?
Yes, yes. In fact, we did a survey with ICMR. ICMR, conducted the talent survey. For ICMR is another affiliate of the Securities Commission.
Yes, the Institute of Capital Market Research.
Right. So we collaborated with them, and they come up with the findings, and that's what we are using in a lot of our capacity building.
I just don't know how else to put it.
And it's not just for the young talents. I mean, basically, it's across. It's not just like for one segment of the industry. It's not just for brokers. It's not just for the CF. It's across.
Universal.
Right. And also, I think there are some other statistics which show that even the young retail investors are also, declining in that sense. And not many. So you don't have the professionals. You don't even have the investors as well, right?
Retail investors, you mean what? Some in equities or?
Yeah, equities, because right now a lot of them are actually in other alternative investments, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is something that we know that it is
Which is the trend. I can't blame them.
Exactly, because I think the awareness of the market, I think that
you can't expect the young people to have a CDS account and trade in retail equities when they're a little bit more attuned to ETF investing, for instance, as simple as that, right? And of course you have the Bitcoin groups and many others, right? Which I completely disagree, but that's the trend.
That's the trend. More fintech-based kind of alternative investments. So I mean, at some point, Ibrahim, I can just mention to you that during the MCO, right, there was that trend, worrying trend that the young people, right, around the 30s are about, they were displaced during that time, right? There's a lot of displaced workers, and they were going to the crypto market to actually invest.
And then they lose everything.
And so that time you were like,
that's a sweeping statement, but they didn't make money, I suppose.
Some of them made, some of them actually losing, but some of them don't even know what they were into. Right?
More of that.
Yes, more of that, right? But because they needed another source of revenue, they thought that could be the way forward. So we at that point we saw that trend, and we quickly come up with a digital assets investor education program where we actually educate them on what is digital assets and what are the risks and rewards that you can get. If you want to trade, you trade properly, right? And there are other regulated platforms that we have already licensed in that sense under the Securities Commission zone in that sense. But most of them, they were actually investing in Cambodia base, in other non-based. It's not regulated kind of platform. So we were doing education, and I thought for 1 year we did that just to make sure that we could protect the wealth in that sense, right? So that's the kind of thing that we do, not just long term, but also the things that we saw could be worrying, and we quickly come up with something.
But zooming out of the capital markets, wage is a big issue. We've seen how the economy minister is trying to make some overtures in terms of trying to improve on the structural setup of the nation in terms of increasing wages through progressive wage policy. When you have 10 ringgit and 9 ringgit is just on OPEX of the individual, you have 1 ringgit left to do whatever else. That also negates the ability for young Malaysians, as well as I guess 30-somethings Malaysians in terms of investing. We've had EPF on the show. Retirement crisis is here and now. It's no joke anymore. So it might not necessarily be through the fault of, say, retail investors might not be aware of equities or any other way of investing. It's just that they're not earning enough as well. So how are you looking at this point of view?
Yeah, so I think this is where a part of the capacity building program in the talent development is actually, it is about creating awareness. Not just about the jobs in the capital market, but it's about capital market as a whole, right? So we have got, I think, Datin Zalina was mentioning about the 12,000 kind of students that we want to actually, target in the next 3 years to create awareness, to give them financial, technical knowledge, and also to groom the leaders for the future, right? So part of the creating awareness is also to make sure that they understand what capital market is all about. How does capital market get entrenched in your whole life? Because you know that capital market is everywhere in our life, but we didn't realize it.
Yes,
right?
absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, we do investments. The investments technically touching capital market already. But they didn't realize that capital market is that. They thought that capital market is, only
bonds,
had equity, bonds sahaja, is for the elites only, right?
And
it is not. It is what you do every day, and the fact that we are investing ASN,
but it runs in the background, you know what I mean? It's like electricity, it's there. Nobody thinks about the power grid.
And who funds all this development?
Exactly.
Capital market, right? So, but they don't see the connection in that sense. So this creating the awareness is to get that story right. That you are in the market where you are part and parcel of the development of the nation, right? So because before that it was not connected that way, and I think what SRDC is like trying to we change our tag. Before this we were like delivering professional excellence, very much focused on professionals. Now we are saying we are connecting the nation to capital market through education.
So you're merakyatkan
that we want to make sure that this information awareness on capital market reaches the masses, the rakyat, rather than just
looking across the shores of our country. Are these the kind of things that is being developed by SIDC equivalents in, say, Thailand or Indonesia, Singapore, and the likes?
I believe we are quite aligned in that sense. In fact, we were we were reached out by the other regulators to see how we do things in the capital market, how we actually build capacity for the capital market. So yes, we are quite aligned in that sense because in fact I was in Cambodia recently, and just to give advice on how they want to pursue new business development in the capital market.
Okay.
And it's how do we go about establishing the whole capacity building for that particular segment. And so we brought in our industry players, and discussed with them what would be the journey that we want to do. So these kind of things that we are trying to do. Internally, we want to do more. But if there is opportunities for us to help the neighboring countries, we'll do that as well. Now, going back to your question about the salary just now, Ibrahim, I didn't answer that question. Now, when we are doing this, salary is very much what we discuss, right? And that is not something that is within Securities Commission or SIDC's control.
It's not even.
It's very much market driven. So, but this is a conversation that we have with our industry players as well. That we can groom, we can develop talents, but to retain the talents, then it has to be everybody's responsibility, right? We provide you all the talents, then how do you want to retain them? One thing, of course, how you want to give them the starting salary, because we do get dropouts from the program.
Of course,
because
that is natural. But is the dropout rate a little bit higher, or the attrition rate a little bit higher?
For this, actually, to be honest, for our program, leadership program, as we until the day that they start class, they were already dropouts. Because they are getting other employment opportunities
and you really can't blame
outside
them.
outside
I'm in
the
their
industry.
position, I would do the same, right?
And they are getting paid much higher than maybe our industry.
So even within the capital market industry, the pay wage structure needs to be really looked at.
Well, our industry players will have different point of view. They say that the readiness of the talents that's coming in doesn't allow that kind of a pay that you want to get. Exactly. So that's a chicken egg situation there, right? So we say, okay, now we come in, we try to breach by grooming. We invest in the grooming part of it, and then once they are quite ready, you place them, you train on the job, right? And then we'll see how they progress from there. Maybe you can offer them a bit more.
Yeah.
But during that progress, I think as Datin Azrina had mentioned earlier, that the minimum allowance during the placement is 2004, which is more than normally they get, because normally your internship, you got 1,000, right? Ada langsung, some are not even paying, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so 2004 is a decent allowance during that time, but gives opportunity for the companies to actually assess the students, whether they are able to do more permanent role in the company, and maybe they can pay a bit more. But at the same time, the students themselves, they will gain a lot of information on capital market. So if they don't, they don't choose to be in the capital market, we hope they have got enough knowledge to invest in the capital market, to do more educated or informed investor, to become an informed investor. So maybe that can help to increase the vibrancy of the market because just now we said that we also need to cater for the young, not just young talents, but also young investors.
Let's talk about sustainability, because capital markets in Malaysia is driving sustainability through organizations like SIDC. Maybe you can share with us the kind of ideas that is revolving around sustainability and what SIDC is doing.
So I think you were with us from beginning. As Securities Commission is very, very strong proponent for sustainability. They have come out with the SRI, Sustainable and Responsible Investment framework since 2014, and SDG goals was only done in 2015, right? Exactly. So we were earlier than that. So I think that has been refreshed every now and then, and you can see the frameworks that's come out from the regulators, both SE and Bank Negara, a lot of guidelines,
the frameworks, the kind of policies that facilitate.
Exactly. Yes. So it's not yet mandatory, but it's still very much persuasion,
yes,
voluntary.
But the opt-in is actually quite high. I see a lot of industry players now entrenching themselves in sustainability using the framework that is provided for by SC and of course by SIDC as well.
Right.
So,
and if you remember the journey that we started, 2020, when you came in for that first SRI conference that we had during the MCO. After the MCO, July, we were the first one to come up with a virtual platform, but we needed, we couldn't wait. We know we had to actually continue the conversation.
So far?
We've just completed the 4th installment, Ibrahim, and how it started. The first installment, if you remember, we were talking about the bot. Right, the bot has to have the right conversation.
By the way, that's the right place to start.
Yes, exactly. That's how we created that journey.
If you don't have that fiduciary duty in terms of executing this downwards, it won't fly.
Yes, yes. So that's the conversation that you were moderating
Yeah.
that time, right? So, so
God,
we
you
had
remember
that.
this kind of conversation? It was like 3 years ago. I don't
3 years
even
ago we
remember
have
my
that.
breakfast, what I had
So
for
we have that
breakfast.
because we have for us it's continuous creation, continuous journey for us. Sustainability is a journey, right? I mean, we're having discussion about this sustainability journey. So we started at the board level. The next year we focus on the sustainability being the strategic propositions for the companies. That you can make this, you have to make this into a strategy, and it could be a profitable,
Endeavor, yeah.
feasibility, in terms of their businesses, right? And so that started at the
It always
management
is, by the
level.
way. All the studies have shown that it always is.
It is right
Yeah.
now, but that time we were already talking that board and then management. The third year, last year, we were looking at the working levels already. Now you have got all that. Now you have already cascaded down. You have got the frameworks. You got the strategies.
The human
How do we
beings
go
that
about
actually,
it? Yeah. How do we go about it? We don't know how to go about it. We have the frameworks, but what are these? These are all new jargons that we have in the market, right? And the frameworks come out with. But at that time, we
So,
don't have
so the
that
capacity
scenario yet.
building is including these kind of
Thought
capacity.
leadership. Yes, yeah. So that in a way we are saying that it's a culture. We are embedding that culture within the business community.
Yes. Let's talk
And,
about the sustainability culture holistically right now.
Yeah.
How do you feel that this is going to be imbued and, of course, practiced by the practitioners?
It is, if you see since then, right? So there's a lot of traction right now. I mean, you yourself has got a lot of contents around sustainability, and that's good to see because there are a lot more proponents and more advocates right now. And in the capital market, the numbers are showing it's quite slow, but it is. I think let me just share a bit on the bonds,
ahead.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
The bonds market, or in this case, we can say Sukuk, right? Sukuk numbers in the let me just get that number right. Right. SRI Sukuk issued in 2021, that was about 2.81 billion. 2022, 10.58 billion. Although we started in 2014, the traction, I mean, we had got first, one-off kind of Sukuk issuance at that point of time, but you can see traction right now. But it is still very nascent. I think total Sukuk today is about 18.9 billion, Ibrahim. But that is still a fraction of our total bond issuances, about 1.9 trillion,
Okay.
which is about more than half of our capital market size,
Yeah.
right? So very nascent. Even though the agenda has started by the regulators in 2014, but only now you can see that traction. In terms of funds, we have, I think, December 21, 34 funds on the SRI-related funds with an AV of 5.07 billion. 22, 58 funds, so increased. NAV of 7.05 billion. But of course, this is still a small fraction because as at December 22, we have 1,196 funds. Just now, it's only about 58 funds,
That's right.
And then in terms of, I think, NAV 7.05 against 564 billion.
Is this a reflection that both the market wants these kind of products as well as investor appetite as well? They're looking for SRI slant products?
Yes, it is. But there are challenges, of course, Ibrahim. I mean, there are challenges in the sense that we know that the moral situation is already there, the one is there, the board is already on top of it. Companies already come up with sustainability frameworks everywhere,
Yes.
right?
And it's no longer lip service. The way I've
yeah.
interrogated the folks here, they mean it in earnest.
Yeah, they have all those things. Again, then going back to the challenge, they want to do this, right? But the other challenges, I would put it in three buckets. People is the first one. I think naturally we understand the lack of competencies, a lack of skills to implement those frameworks that we have already come up with. So regulators come up with framework, and companies at level, they have already come up with their own frameworks. But the working levels, how to implement this, how to take that into action. So that is what we are working on at SLEC as well, to increase that competency and skills. Next is the financials. The costs involved in doing any changes, transitions to green activities, or I would say sustainable activities in a sense. It covers all ESG. And then you have the supply chain complexity, right?
Okay.
Supply chain, because we are big companies, and then you've got the SMEs who are also part of your supply chain. You can't control them, and how do you yourself are still struggling in terms of your own internal actions towards sustainability. And then you also have to now educate your supply chain.
And your own people as well.
Your own people and supply chain. Right? So that's complexity in that sense. So it goes back to the first challenge, people, right? And this is
Let's talk about AI. How has AI impacted or disrupted this industry in terms of delivering value in this sense?
I think it is more supporting. Now they are using a lot more AI to support the measurements that is required, because this is something new, right? So this is a good opportunity for them to use the emerging technologies to help them in their measurements, in their reporting and so forth, because everything's happening at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think it's just a good time for them to use those tools while we, I guess, the capacity building on the people side happen, but they can also use the solutions. And there are many solution providers now coming up, proposing their solutions to help the companies to do their reporting and also measuring.
Do you feel that the market is vibrant enough for this to not just sustain itself, but also to thrive in the years to come? Or do you feel that there's a lot of headwinds that we need to navigate right now?
Yeah, there are a lot of headwinds, but like I said just now, sustainability is a journey, Ibrahim. So there's no way back already. You just have to go. This is the way forward. Sustainability has to be the way forward, and so it's a matter of how fast we can go now, right? And I think once we have got the people angle covered, in the sense they are going to be upskilled, right, reskilled, then inshallah this will go through very fast already. Because in the SDG report, Ibrahim, in 2017, Ibrahim, we were ranked number 54 among the countries in terms of our SDG scores, right? 2022, we were ranked 78. We fell, right?
Dropped, yeah.
In terms of score, we naik sikit lah. I mean, there's I think our score was about 36, so let me see. 68.54 in 17, right? And 22, 69.85, marginal increase.
Yeah.
But the year before, we were at 70. So, naik, turun balik.
Yeah.
And then, but the other countries, let me show you the Vietnam and China, right? Vietnam and China, 2017, Vietnam and China ranked 71 and 68 respectively.
Wow.
Okay. 22, they now rank 55 and 56 respectively. So they overtake Malaysia in terms of ranking.
So how did that happen?
Okay, so how do you think this happened?
Yeah.
So it seems that the score, remember the score that we saw just now?
Yeah, 68.
Quite similar.
Yeah.
So we are okay. We grow, we improve.
Modestly,
or if you say lagging.
Yeah.
But the rest are already jumping ahead of us in terms of their progress in achieving their goals. So and even Indonesia, for that matter, they actually increased from 100 placement in 2017 to 82, dekat dengan kita, right? So I said that is where it could see. I mean, there's a lot of tractions going now. You can see a lot more, but the other countries may have a lot more or faster
Look,
traction.
you're not the first CEO to say that all these countries are speeding ahead of us, and I like to retort by saying things like I can't help but feel an inferiority complex against these kind of markets. Do you feel that this kind of government that we have right now today is actually helping us trying to catch up with these kind of markets that we were once leading, now lagging behind?
In terms of our goals now, I think you can feel it, I can feel it, that there's a lot more conversations, there's a lot more actions, there's a lot more discourse on this kind of conversations on sustainability. I think again, it goes back to, I mean, your policymakers, stakeholders, all these frameworks that's coming out, all the guidelines that's coming out, that is actually, again, the top-down kind of direction we have. So that is there. But how you move forward is the rakyat, is the people on the ground who will make this happen. Whether they want this also as part and parcel of their life in that sense. And to go back a bit on that one, I like this because of Malaysia, to 1970s, we already have sustainability by virtue of our Rukun Negara, number 5, courtesy and morality.
Oh, okay.
You're surprised on that. You say,
I don't know. It seems like you're drawing some sort of a
timeline, right? And
wow, okay.
I like this because number 5, kalau if you remember Rukun Negara, I also don't remember Rukun Negara after I left school, right? Yeah. But you look at it, the objective, one of the objectives of Rukun Negara is to create prosperity, right? That will be enjoyed by fair and equitable in a fair, equitable manner.
Yeah.
So that alone is already sustainability, right? And but we didn't realize it. That is already in the essence of us being Malaysian, right? And then, of course, in our region, Ibrahim,
Kesusilaan, kesopanan dan
kesopanan,
kesusilaan. Sorry, I Google it.
Courtesy and morality, easier to remember.
Yeah.
So, but that is coming out again, and I think that discussion has come up quite a fair bit. That it is already in our life, our religion. You know, basically, do good to mankind, do good to your environment. It's already tenets in our own beliefs. So, what's lacking could be the goals. Right, with the SDG goal, with the SDGs 2015, it's just like, okay, now set that these are the goals. How you measure your sustainability in that sense. So it's good that we have it. It's been 8 years journey for all countries, including Malaysia. So I guess it's just how much you want to put effort into it. But personally, I think that we have seen a lot more going on, a lot more discussions like this, and a lot more beliefs into it.
Seems like you have your work cut out for you at SIDC. Final comments before we conclude our conversation. What would be some of the ideas that you want to really drum it in so that our viewers can take away with some of the ideas?
I guess something that I would want to offer is that when we interact with a lot of companies, Ibrahim, there is that confusion. There's a lot of again, the challenges that they have in terms of embedding the culture of sustainability on top of within their sustainability framework. How to make it work, right? It's about their own capacity building internally. And this is what we have been helping companies, where we come up with...
Companies, not just capital markets, right?
No, any companies for that matter, But, of course, we were starting with capital market as a
now
whole.
it's transportable.
But now, a lot more companies are asking us, how do we go about it? Because we start with four-pronged strategy in the sense that the first one, we find out what kind of competencies that you will need in the job roles across your company organization, right? Across your organization. Then, of course, we got thought leadership discourse that we always have within the industry. That is something that they can think about. And from that, we have come up with thematic sandwich courses for them to come in to just look at particular angle of where they want to look at based on your competencies. And now we are working on the certification for sustainable and responsible investments. So to give a bit more standards in terms of what kind of skills that you will require. There are many other certifications around, Ibrahim, but not very much towards Malaysian context. Because we don't have that many cases. It's still a very young, nascent segment, right? But it will start to grow, and we are at the right time for us to start documenting all these cases into our certification. So it's very much a comprehensive certification for sustainability across the board, not just for professionals, but also for around organization. So we can offer that, and we're happy to help those who will need help in that sense, using our experience for the last 4 or 5 years doing capacity building for the industry.
Thank you very much. If you want to learn more, just head off to SIDC's website and find out more about the possibilities of a collaboration with them. Also, you can find out more resources like this that can be found on asroawani.com. My name is Ibrahim Sani. Catch you in the next one.